Hi, I'm Kathryn and I'm an instructional coach for Modesto City Schools. I'm their MTSS coach, and we use DISE for our newcomers. I teach, or I have a learning center where we pull students throughout the day to give them 30-minute intervention blocks of what they need. And so when we have ELs, we utilize DISE to instruct them. I have 4 paras, and we've been trained to give the instruction through, we've been trained to give them language instruction through DISE. We started it last year as a pilot, and the students we had were typically new to the country, no English at all. And so following the scripts and the correction procedures and making sure all the children were answering on signal and following the routines and procedures of the program really led to their success. We found that the students, after just receiving, the program's supposed to be 90 minutes per lesson, and we only had 30. So when you count up the time that they spent with us, it came out to be about 3 months of lessons. Most of the groups got to lesson 15, and there's a mastery test, and we had many students who came in new to the country pass the mastery test their first time, which is incredible because as the lessons progress they get more challenging. And so we had kids that passed their mastery test, and if they didn't, we would give them direct feedback, explicit feedback. We would do the review lessons we followed the TE on what the suggested review lessons were, the remedies, and we retested them, and we had high success rate. We had students that when they first came didn't know any English at all, and may not even have heard English in countries that they came from, and they really started picking it up quickly. We saw them being more they seemed more confident in their posture, and in their classrooms they started asking more questions. It really gave them the tools to just have that basic communication down. For example, like, where's the bathroom, and then when are we going to the library, and what time is lunch, and they knew that they were a student and we were a teacher, and so it gave them that confidence. And also within the groups, they had confidence enough to speak to each other, so it was really cool. We had students from different backgrounds. Maybe some spoke Farsi, maybe some spoke Spanish, and they were communicating with each other in English and creating bonds, and that created a nice little group for them. So we would see them outside on the playground, and even though they didn't speak each other's language, they would seek each other out because, we're in the same DISE group, and they would try to speak English out there. So it was really cool to see. I've used other programs before, and I feel like DISE really gave our students the tools that they needed that were developmentally appropriate for their age. Okay. And also, it's easy for us to teach. I have 4 paras. I'm just the instructional coach, and the paras were able to follow the script. It's very predictable. So in the beginning, when a child is brand new, they don't speak our language, they can pick up the routine very quickly, and so they're not so focused on the routine, they can think more about the content. And because so much is review, and 10 to 15% is new, we have a high success rate. And it allowed us to give really meaningful corrections. I like in DISE in the beginning, there's lots of opportunities to have kids review, so they have at least up to 7 times to practice something if they're not at mastery, and then you move on and you might come back to it. But it really afforded us, it's kind of feels like out of our comfort zone to work on a task so many times, but it afforded us to feel comfortable in doing that. And that's really what the students need, is that constant repetition when they're learning a new language. English is extremely hard to learn, and especially if they come from a country that doesn't have any cognates with our language. Their language doesn't have any cognates with English is incredibly difficult, but we saw a high success rate with our students. And they really enjoyed coming because it was that one time in their day where everything was at their level, and they could understand and work, and they had high success rates. So we didn't have a lot of classroom management issues, and we had they were motivated and they saw the value in it. We ran the pilot. We wanted to make sure that the teachers saw positive outcomes through DISE. So the EL coach and I, we came up with a survey to ask the teachers. We pulled the students out for 30 minutes a day, and we wanted to see how it transferred into the classroom. And the teacher said overall they saw happier children. Overall they saw more confident children. And the children started trying to speak up in class, where in the beginning they didn't want to speak at all. And they saw them playing outside with other children, where in the beginning they might have been a little isolated.